All right, I am having a, fabulous chat with, as you can see, the three members of the Oberlin Trio. We're speaking to David Bolin, violinist, cellist Amir Eldan, and Hewan Song, pianist. We're going to speak about their 19, I think it's 1916 or 17. I have a copyright of 1917, and the recording was, I think, in 2015. You know, all that stuff, which speaks to me about the tremendous involvement of putting out a CD. You don't just go sit down and turn on the tape recorder. But roughly 2016-17, this wonderful CD of three very, very significant works. Shostakovich, the Piano Trio Number 2, the E minor Piano Trio, that's from 1944, in the thick of the siege of Leningrad. We've got Joan Tower. I love American composer Joan Tower's work. Her piece is from 2000. It's called Big Sky, and it's thick. There's a lot going on there. We'll talk about it. And then Antonin Dvorak, the Piano Trio Number 4, the E minor, two E minors. Very interesting on this program. Hello. The Opus 90, the Dumke from 1891. Am I doing that right, or should I say Dumke? Anyway, does it matter?
Key
I
is
think
the
Dumke. Yeah,
pronunciation.
Dumke sounds dumb. the, the Dumke trio from
Well, let's just
1891. And by the
no, you know.
Was it about 1892 that he came to America? I can't quite remember, but he was not in America in 1891, but he shortly had his wonderful adventure in the United States. So there you go. Now let me just give an overview, and then I'm going to let you guys yammer. I have to do my stuff here. It's everybody says, oh, he talks too much, but here we go. Violinist, all three of you are obviously on the Oberlin Conservatory of Music faculty, one of the great schools of music in America. I know many people that I've known through my life that have been through your training, and they all come out brilliant. Hello, okay? And I don't even mean as musicians. I mean as intellectuals. So it's a great school of music. Violinist David Boland is professor of violin, director of the Division of Strings at Oberlin Conservatory, music at Oberlin. By the way, Oberlin is kind of a little bit between Cleveland and Akron, right? It's kind of more or less a distant suburb. Go ahead. Yeah, where
It's
is it?
it's a little bit to the east. If you draw a line from Cleveland to Akron, we're sorry, quite a bit west of that line.
Aha.
But it makes a triangle,
So
so
Cleveland is
it's
where you go for
same
the
similar
for
area.
you go to Cleveland to party. Is that what it amounts to? Cleveland.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
To Oberlin to party.
Oh, I forgot about that college town. How crazy can that be? Let's see. And the interesting thing is that of the three, David is an alumna of Oberlin and came
I am
back.
I'm a proud alum of Oberlin myself.
Yeah,
Yes, I am.
and that is a very unique thing to be hired by your school. I mean, it doesn't happen
It,
every day, so it's wonderful. Cellist Amir Eldan, professor of cello chair, strings director, division of strings. At 22, the youngest member of the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra, holy mo, Uncle Jack, served as concertmaster of the Israel Philharmonic with Zubin Mehta. Zubin Mehta was my idol as a kid when he was conducting the Los Angeles Philharmonic. So I aped his every move as a 16-year-old conductor. And you've been on, you, Amir, have been on the faculty since 2006. And of course, pianist Haiwan Song, Juilliard grad, Bachelor of Music, Master of Music, and member of the piano department at Oberlin since 1991. So let me see if I got this right. So there must have been predecessors. In other words, tell me about the beginnings of the Oberlin Trio, how that came about. David, are you the kind of
I,
original guy?
I no, I am not. I joined the faculty of Oberlin in
Oh,
2007,
that's right.
and joined the trio in 2008. So the trio was originally founded in 1982
Yes,
by
that's correct.
Stephen Clapp, who went on to become a professor at Juilliard and dean of the Juilliard School, dean of students, and Andor Toth, who taught at Oberlin
Wow.
for many years, and Joseph Schwartz. So they were the original configuration of the Oberlin Trio, and at some point they retired from playing as a trio and passed the name along to us. So we reconfigured ourselves in 2008 and became the second incarnation of the Oberlin Trio.
So were you hanging in the wings, waiting for the retirement announcement? What? How did that go?
Well,
We were not here.
yeah, we weren't here, so
Oh,
they were waiting for us to.
ah. You're off the hook.
They were waiting for us to say, okay, we can pass this along to the
That's
next
wonderful.
installment,
Yeah, that's wonderful.
which
And
was a great honor, and we were thrilled to do it.
and I think that's a tradition with sort of collegiate ensembles. Oberlin Trio is obviously associated with the college, that the
Right?
name continues and others are brought in. Um, I was going to say you're the only David. You're the only Oberlin alum. Uh, when exactly did you return to Oberlin as a professor? You went off to what, Juilliard and
2007. So yeah, so I graduated in
see.
2000. I went to Juilliard for my master's. I did my doctorate at Stony Brook University and performed in New York for a number of years, but then came to Oberlin in 2007. So uh, I had the pleasure of working with the privilege, really, of working with the Da Capo chamber players for four
Yes.
years in New York City, who Joan Tower was the founding pianist and composer for. And
Aha.
so that was my experience, my first experience playing Big Sky, the piano trio. So that's how I learned the piece.
And so let's see. I'll get to it a little later. So you've given me a little framework about its compositional point. I think it was 2000. Am I remembering that correctly? 2000. Uh, and you met her then. So what happens? Years later, you throw a call at her, or what? And say, can we perform? Or you just buy it
We
and put it together?
were looking for, we were interested in a trio to pair with this album to match with the other works that we wanted to do, and we thought of this, and we loved it. I mean, I loved it when I knew it, when I first learned it, and then they learned to love it as well. Um, Got them on board, by hook or by crook, and we decided to put it on the album.
Have
So.
I mi- have I ha- have I missed anything about give me a little overview of your, say we've spoken Juilliard, 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 and then what? And how'd you end up at Oberlin? Pardon?
Yes, that's the way it is. Julia, 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 I can't.
They didn't want to let her go.
Yeah. Well, no kidding, no kidding. So Oberlin made you a nice offer, and you decided, okay, I'll take that, huh? Is that it? And since we were kind of on the subject of this CD, I always ask the question because, again, I want to repeat to everybody, you just don't go in and say, turn on the mic, let's have a happy time, and then it's over, and then somehow miraculously it's a massive process. Grants and gifts from people, all that, the cost, the blood, the sweat, the rehearsals, you want to make sure everything's perfect. But what I want to ask is about this program. How does that work with three people? How do you sit down? Because there's a huge repertoire. How did you come up with these three very interesting works? The Shostakovich, the Tower, and the Dvorak.
Oh, that's a really good question. I think they're all pieces that, well, I can only speak for myself. The Shostakovich and Dvorak are pieces that I have long loved and long wanted to do, and so they became early on in our trio's formation pieces that we started programming regularly, and by they became pieces that we found that we programmed more and more regularly, and started to feel like we had a real point of view with them. And so when it came time to think about our album, we wanted to put them on because we felt like we knew them, that they had become old friends.
Yeah,
And
not
so,
not only that, this becomes legacy. If you're going to make a recording, you're going to record repertoire that you know well and that you have something to say about. Yeah. But
exactly.
again, how did you come to the decision of the three? What is that? Did you just say, hey, how about Joan Tower, David, or did anyone else have an input? How'd that work? Speak. Somebody else speak to me.
David,
Go.
David said that was pretty much it. David said, "How about Joan Tower?" And we played it, we performed it, we got to know it better and better,
Yeah.
and we
decided to include it.
yeah.
And by the way, that's the
I'm a huge fan of Joan's music. I just have, from having worked with her and having been part of the Da Capo chamber players and just playing quite a number of pieces by her.
yeah. And boy, have times
Just-
changed. Have times
Um,
changed about female composers, about women composers, women musicians, and all that. It's wonderful.
of
Joan,
course.
Joan's one of the big ones.
Petrushka, she has an amazing clarinet quintet called
Yes.
Turning, which I played in Minsk, of all places. And her quartets are incredible. So as well. So it's It's
Let's
it's
let's talk about this number two trio of Shostakovich. It's 1944. It's the middle of the Leningrad siege. The Germans are, people are dying right, left, and center. I mean, a horror upon horror. Shostakovich is a volunteer fireman. I mean, the world is falling, is really in total collapse, and that's exactly what we hear. It's a very resilient trio. There is a sort of manic refusal, if you get my drift, a kind of manic refusal to accept the inevitable. You know what I mean? There's sort of almost manic dancing, if you will, in a couple of these movements. Give me an idea, please. How did this come together with the three of you? Amir, let me ask you this question about how did this work with the three of you? It's such a serious and important piece. It speaks to so much tragedy. Go.
How did we decide on this piece? I think it was the same as David was saying. We you don't learn to love this piece. You learn to suffer with it.
Oh, beautiful.
Because there's so much pain, and it's in a way it's torture to play because it's so painful.
Yeah.
And
So therefore, you should have said, "Oh, no, 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 we couldn't possibly put this on a CD. It won't sell. Come on, let's talk marketing."
I think it's a wonderful contrast with the Dumki Trio because the Dumki has so much positive energy and so much love and warmth, and we chose it because it was such a vast distance away, facing the other direction,
Yeah.
and
And it opens the CD, which is very interesting. It's not like you play us an overture and get us all happy and excited. You plunge right into the darkest, spookiest, high register stuff. Those whole opening bars, by the way, you can imagine, I've heard this trio many, many times. The magic, I don't know how you did it, but the magic of those spooky opening moments, the high register stuff. I mean, you just got into the non vibrato, all of that. It's just chilling, which is exactly the intention. Let's see, what else did I write? Lonely. It's a perfect invocation of the horrors of Leningrad at the time. How do you want people to respond to this piece, which deals with such an horrendous subject, but also has its own resilience? I'm thinking of the Allegro con brio, and so what's the, you know what I mean? What's the mission? Go, somebody.
the mission is for them to feel it in their abdomen. This is a piece that you feel in your body, and it's painful.
Good painful.
It's not a celebration of life. It's almost like a protest. It's music that was written not for entertainment, but as protest, as to riot, to show the anger and the fear, and there's a lot of sinister moments. There's some dry humor moments also.
it's a little bit cathartic, the
Yeah.
piece, because you have the opening, which is so painfully slow, and then it gradually gathers momentum, and then it sort of gets, so wildly, artificially happy almost.
Yeah.
Uh,
I write a cynical comedic. It's wrapped in a
yeah,
cynical comedic wrapper.
perfect, perfect.
In other
And
words,
then,
escapism. People are dying all around you. Of course, people would have escaped. We're imagining, those of us who can even begin to imagine such a horror, to some kind of cynical humor about things. You would have to have that. I want to know about the piano part. What do you think? How hard was that to put together? Speaking of the movement that has that tinkling descending, I think it's the third. Is it the Largo? And there's some Lisztian moments. How hard was this Shostakovich to put together?
I think it's mostly students. I'm lucky enough to play with two fantastic young men. They did most of the work. I just tagged along.
Oh,
she's
she's so modest. I can't
modest,
believe it.
far too modest.
But the truth is, as we've all seen and witnessed, when you have good musicians around you, the music is good. You know what I mean? It's easy to make good music together when you're three simpatico musicians. Let me see what else I've got to say about that one. I love, by the way, the in the last movement, this choice of tempo, not too fast. I usually hear it kind of almost hysterical in various other, which is perfectly fine. It makes perfect sense. But you know what I mean. That whole last section is done in a not too fast, but nevertheless frenetic, clean, clear way. And I think that really is part of what separates this particular performance from others. And it's very effective. Did that just happen out of clear blue sky, or did you talk about it for a while? Because everybody's heard some other recordings where things are just quite crazy in the end. Speak, David.
Um, I mean, I think the way we approach tempos in the last movement evolved organically for us. We made those concrete decisions, and Shostakovich has some tempo markings in the piece, and I think we're pretty faithful to them actually. But this is something that we lived with, and we were looking for what kind of character we wanted to convey to the listener, and what we felt that Shostakovich was trying to communicate with that section. And so that's the tempo we found that seemed to capture what we felt was the intention.
Exactly right, I think. May I salute you? Because when it's a little too fast, you kind of lose something about the point, the heft, and I mean the ugly, heavy heft of this tempo. So I think that's wonderful. And I was just helped. I was thinking, I've been on a thing about tempos. I don't know if you followed any of this stuff, but the new recording of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, where we think, Benjamin Zander, I think he's found the answers to lots of these questions. And for me, the revelation is that these composers in that period, which is before the 19th century, they took the metronome very, very seriously. And when they put in metronome markings, they meant it. It was their way to finally tell people exactly how they wanted things to be performed, what tempo. And now I, as an old guy now, but I'm beginning to read, how artists will say, oh, there's a tempo indication. Now my expressive, personal, intuition will step in. It's all fabulous. But I'm in my old age. I'm taking those tempo markings much more seriously. So when you said that you kept to the tempo markings, I think I heard a rumbling upstairs somewhere. I think Shostakovich was very happy. And again, what a terrible time that must have been for all Russian people, but particularly in that city. It was a brutal siege in the 40s, and the idea that art is meant to express the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that humankind can learn some lessons. Let's see, I think we discussed the Joan Tower. Let's have a look at the Dumke for a little bit. You use it as a model to kind of rise up a little bit out of some fairly heavy stuff. But nevertheless, the Dumke is also in E minor, and it's no accident. I'm beginning to finally understand. Remember that book from whatever the 18th century or something, where they codified everything, all the tempi, all the moods, all the key areas had a certain emotional response, and they had it exactly right. Those people in the 17th century, they're sad. And by the way, Dumke, sad songs.
Right.
Come on.
So there's alternation in the style between the sad melancholy and then the energetic dancing, and they alternate, and they exist kind of in balance. And of course, the melancholy is swept away at the very end, by the very end. But yeah, there's always that tension in that piece between those two poles.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned to you, and maybe you have mentioned it in the course of the recording. You made this recording in, am I pronouncing it Clonic Hall? Clonic Hall at Oberlin, and I'm a musician, and now I'm kind of meant to focus more on CDs in my old age, in my retirement, and I'm hearing things. I'm hearing a lot of stuff that I never kind of thought I would hear. I knew perfectly well I have the training to hear. And what I'm trying to say is that room and the recording engineers involved in making that recording, the sound is absolutely perfect. And what I mean by that is that, and again, for me, I'm always searching for clarity of sound, no distortion, no fooling around with the dimmer board or whatever, the soundboard, none of that. That's a beautiful, beautiful room. Yeah, was it just taken for granted? Your faculty, it won't cost you anything?
No, this is a new, fairly new building. I'm trying to remember the exact year. Does anybody remember the exact year of construction? Anyway, it's a new recording facility that we have here at the Oberlin Conservatory, and it's a concert hall, in and of itself, a small concert hall, but it's primarily that's its double function. It's primarily a recording studio, and it's used by faculty. It's rented out to people that want to use the facility because they also agree that it's a beautiful facility.
Beautiful
And
music.
State-of-the-art equipment,
yeah,
but none of it would be any meaningful without the great talent of Paul Ikes, who was the recording engineer, and he really did miracles because
right.
the room by itself, if you came and played, you realize, oh, it's just okay. It's not the room. It's really Paul that did the incredible.
The setting of the microphone
yes,
and the
Right.
placement of the instruments.
Right. What kind of miking? What?
He took a lot of time and care to really choose the placement and the right equipment. So we owe it to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real art, the art of recording, especially in classical music and chamber music. So yes, here, kudos to the recording engineer. I respect them more than ever these days. You know, I forgot. And by the way, in terms of that recording studio, we're talking about, and let me find it here, Oberlin Music Label. Yeah, distributed by Naxos. So there, you're all set. You've got this fabulous recording studio. You can just crank them out. Naxos is sitting, waiting at the door to distribute worldwide. It's perfect. There you go. That's Oberlin for you. I think, what have I forgotten to add? What's going on next? Are you in between CDs? Are you thinking? Are you not thinking? What?
Learning new repertoire.
Yeah, right now we're planning 2 tours. One to major cities in Canada, and then the next one is going to be an Asian tour, which both are going to be happening in the next year.
Yeah.
And I think once we go through the tour, we'll be in a better place to decide
what we're going to record.
What we're going to.
No, it makes perfect sense. Run it out, play it in the suburbs. See if it takes, and then run home to the gorgeous recording studio you have at Oberlin and record it. By the way, I have a growing list of college faculty in Canada. They are really, I'm beginning to appreciate. I was a little bit off the subject, but I'm going to get in trouble maybe. But something about the Canadian and the Australian musicians, in my experience, are just eager, to be seen and heard, and they're fabulous and amazing Canadian composers that Americans have never heard of, and so on. So I just want to let you know that this video, here's my pitch now. It's time for me to do my pitch. This interview with the Oberlin Trio is going to go up at performingartsreview.net. The interview, the links to buy the CD, all that good stuff, the bios, everything, videos, the works, and then I'm going to send out an e-blast to my list, and it's a pretty good one, I think. Really, it's a lot of college music faculty in 6 countries now. So in terms of your Canadian tour, I hope I'll be able to, in some small way, to light a fire here, a fire there, amongst Canadian music faculty when they.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Have I forgotten anything? What do you think? Anything anybody's dying to say?
Slides. Are you all right?
Me? I'm fine.
Barbara with the mudslides.
Oh, how sweet of you. No, we're fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And rain is good in Southern California, even if it does take down a few homes and take out some highways. Okay, once more. Oberlin Trio. This is a recording of a beautiful recording, Shostakovich, the Piano Trio No. 2, the E minor Piano Trio, 1944, Leningrad. It's one of the war works of Shostakovich. Joan Tower, Big Sky from 2000. Absolutely. I mean, I need to listen to it 6, 7, 8 more times. You know what I mean? It's that dense. It's that fascinating. It has that much going on. Big Sky, Joan Tower from 2000. And then Antonin Dvorak's the Piano Trio No. 4. I emphasize E minor because there's still stuff going on in that piece, even though it's the dump key and from 1891, and it tends to be jolly and so on. But, there is the part of the human condition has that something, that sadness, that wistfulness. Beautiful, beautiful CD. David Bolin, violinist. Amir Eldan, cellist, pianist, Haewon Song. Many, many thanks for finally allowing me to get a chance to meet you and chat with you. Thanks.
Thank you so much for talking to us. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.